So my sister Andrea sent me a TikTok link with just 3 words. Call me now. Honestly, almost ignored it because Andrea sends me random videos all the time. But something about those capital letters made me click it right there in the supply closet. The video opened with Trey sitting on my couch in my apartment, wearing this smug little smile I'd never seen before. The caption said, "Rating my clingy girlfriend's most embarrassing moments." And I literally stood there frozen with a box of latex gloves in my hands, watching my boyfriend absolutely destroy me for entertainment. First clip showed me cooking dinner in my kitchen from last week. I was wearing my old college shirt with the hole in the armpit, hair in a messy bun, totally focused on making his favorite chicken fajitas because he'd mentioned wanting them. The text overlay said, "She thinks cooking equals wife material," with a skull emoji. His voiceover went, "Like girl, we've been dating 2 years, not 20, calm down." The comments were already filled with people laughing. Someone wrote, "Bet she texts good morning handsome first every day." And Trey had replied. He wrote back with paragraphs, followed by crying, laughing emojis. I actually felt my hands start shaking, but I couldn't stop watching. Next clip was from when we went to Target 3 months ago. I'd been joking around about baby names because we walked past the infant section and I said something stupid like, "If we ever have kids, I'm not naming them anything that starts with a K. Every Caden I meet is a nightmare." It was a joke. A nothing conversation you have when you're bored in Target. But Trey had recorded it somehow. And now there it was on TikTok with the caption, "She's already named our future kids. I haven't said I love you yet." That part actually made me stop breathing for a second because what the actual hell? We'd been saying I love you for over a year. I'd said it that morning before he left for work. He'd said it back while kissing me goodbye. And now he was pretending online that we weren't even at that stage? The third clip killed me. It was from 2 weeks ago when I'd sent him a long text because we'd gotten into a fight about him forgetting my birthday dinner reservation. I'd been hurt and sent him this whole message about how I just wanted him to prioritize us sometimes. Nothing crazy, just explaining my feelings like a normal person in a relationship. He screenshotted it, put it on TikTok. The caption said, "The desperate pick-me who begs for attention." And someone commented, "Women who write essays in text form are red flags." And other people agreed. One person wrote, "Run bro, she's psycho," and it had 200 likes. My phone started buzzing with texts, but I ignored them because the video wasn't over. The final part showed Trey going, "All right, real talk, y'all want to hear the craziest part?" And then he launched into the story about how I meal prep his lunches every Sunday, and how I actually irons my work scrubs like we're in the 1950s, and how I gets upset when I don't text back within an hour like I don't have a job. In comments of people either laughing at me or telling him to dump the clingy girlfriend. I walked out of the supply closet and my boss Randy took one look at my face and asked if I was okay. I just told him I needed to leave early, family emergency, and he didn't even argue. I got in my car and that's when I saw the messages. Andrea had sent 12 more texts in all caps. My mom had called 3 times. My cousin Valentina sent me a screenshot of the video with, "Is this Trey?" That's when it hit me that this wasn't just online strangers seeing this. My family was watching my boyfriend humiliate me. My mom's church friends probably saw it. My coworkers definitely would. Everyone I knew was going to see Trey calling me desperate and clingy and crazy for doing normal girlfriend things like cooking dinner and wanting communication. I called Andrea back while driving and she was already raging. She told me Trey had gone live earlier that evening with over 600 viewers and apparently his friends jumped in the comments. She screen recorded parts of it and sent them to me. I had to pull into a gas station parking lot to watch because I couldn't drive and look at the same time. The live stream was so much worse than the original video. Trey was sitting there with his gaming headset on, laughing with his boys who were flooding the chat. One of them wrote, "Bro, keep her around, free meals at least." And Trey actually laughed and said out loud, "Facts, like I'm not complaining about the cooking, I'm just saying she acts like we're married." Another friend commented, "Does she pick out your outfits too?" And everyone started roasting me about being controlling. Someone in the chat asked, "Is she watching this?" And Trey got this look on his face and said, "Oh, she's definitely crying watching this right now. She's probably already typing me a paragraph." Then he mimicked a girl crying and typing frantically and his friends in the comments went wild. People were dying laughing. The viewer count jumped to 800. I sat in that gas station parking lot watching my boyfriend of 2 years mock me to hundreds of strangers, and the only thing I could think was how I'd ironed his work shirts that morning. How I'd packed his lunch with a little note because I'm apparently a desperate psycho for doing nice things. How I texted him earlier saying I couldn't wait for him to get home because I missed him, and he'd responded with a heart emoji while probably planning this whole humiliation. Andrea kept texting me asking where I was and what I was doing. My mom called again. I ignored everything and just sat there feeling like the world's biggest idiot. 2 years of cooking his favorite meals and supporting his streaming hobby and being there when his grandpa died and helping him study for his certification exam. And this is what I got. Public humiliation for TikTok clout. Then I got mad. The kind of anger where everything gets really clear and simple. I looked at the time. 7:30 p.m. Trey got off work at 6 and was definitely home by now. At my apartment that I'd been letting him stay at rent-free for the past months. Probably making more content about his pathetic girlfriend. I drove to my apartment going probably 15 over the speed limit the whole way. I lived on the second floor of an older building, and there was a big dumpster right below my balcony that the whole building shared. Perfect timing, actually, because it was trash pickup tomorrow and the dumpster was only half full. The apartment was quiet when I walked in. I could hear the shower running. Typical Trey comes home from his warehouse job and immediately showers for like 40 minutes while I usually make dinner. Not tonight, though. Tonight I had different plans. I grabbed the biggest trash bags from under my kitchen sink and started in the bedroom. All his clothes from the closet, stuffed into bags. His shoe collection that he kept lined up like a sneaker store display, bagged. His gaming headset, his controllers, his collection of graphic t-shirts, everything went into trash bags. I was moving fast, operating on pure rage and adrenaline. The shower was still running. Trey took forever in there, probably rehearsing his next viral roast session. I dragged the first 2 bags to the balcony and looked down. The dumpster was right there, maybe 10 feet below. I hoisted the first bag over the railing and let it drop. It landed with a satisfying thud right in the middle of the trash pile. Second bag went over. Then I went back for more. His bathroom stuff, the expensive face wash he loved, his protein powder collection, his framed poster of some gaming tournament. All of it went into bags, and all the bags went over the balcony into that dumpster. I was on my 6th bag when the shower turned off. Could hear Trey moving around in the bathroom, probably taking his sweet time doing his whole skincare routine that I'd bought him products for like an idiot. I started moving faster, grabbing his Nintendo Switch, his tablet, his backup phone charger. By the time Trey came out of the bathroom with a towel wrapped around his waist, I had 9 trash bags lined up on the balcony ready to go, and I was shoving his PlayStation into the 10th bag. He stopped in the hallway, hair dripping wet, and just stared at me. "What are you doing?" "Spring cleaning," I said, tying off the bag with his PlayStation inside. "That's my stuff, Maria, what the hell?" "Your stuff?" I picked up the bag. "In my apartment that you don't pay rent for? This stuff?" I carried it to the balcony. Theo. He started moving toward me, feet leaving wet prints on my floor. "Put that down, that's my PlayStation." "Oh, you mean the one you used to stream about how desperate I am?" I held the bag over the balcony railing. Below me, there was already a nice pile of his clothes in the dumpster, a soft landing for electronics. "Maria, don't you dare." Trey was halfway across the room now, hands out like he could stop me from this distance. "Don't I dare what? Be crazy? Be psycho? Be desperate?" I let the bag drop. It landed right on top of the clothing pile with a crunch that made me smile. My PlayStation. Trey rushed to the balcony, but I was already grabbing the next bag, the one with his laptop inside. "You're insane," he was saying, trying to get past me to look over the railing. "You can't just throw my stuff away." Trey's face went through about 5 emotions in 3 seconds. Shock, anger, panic, more anger. "That had everything on it, you psycho." "There's that word again." I grabbed his gaming chair from beside my desk and started dragging it toward the balcony. "Psycho? You know what's actually psycho? Humiliating your girlfriend online for likes." "It was a joke, Maria. You can't take a joke." He tried to grab the chair, but I yanked it away from him. "A joke? You showed my face. You used my real conversations. My mom saw you calling me desperate. My little sister watched you mock me for caring about our relationship." I shoved the gaming chair over the balcony railing. It tumbled through the air and landed partially in the dumpster, partially on the ground. Trey made the sound like a wounded animal and rushed to the railing to look down at all his stuff scattered in and around the dumpster. "You're going to pay for all this. This is destruction of property. Bill me. Send me a TikTok about it." I was already back inside grabbing more bags, his collection of hats, his fancy water bottles, his workout supplements, all going over. "Stop!" Trey was yelling now, trying to block me from the balcony, but he was still in just a towel and dripping wet, and I just pushed past him. "You stop," I said. "Stop making content about me. Stop calling me crazy for being a good girlfriend. Stop living in my apartment rent-free while you trash me online." That's when I saw his face change. Like he suddenly remembered that detail. That this was my place. My name on the lease. My furniture. My space that I'd been letting him stay in because he said he needed to save money. "Babe, let's just talk about this. I'll delete the videos. I'll apologize." "To who? To me? To your 600 viewers?" I dropped another bag over the railing. "Save it. I'm done talking. Where am I supposed to go?" And now he sounded worried. Not sorry, not guilty, just worried about himself. "I don't care, Trey. Go stay with one of your boys from the chat. The ones who think keeping me around for free meals is a good deal." I went back inside and grabbed his backpack, started filling it with the rest of his essentials. Toothbrush, deodorant, the basics. "You've got 5 minutes to get dressed and get out before I call the cops and tell them you're trespassing. You can't kick me out. I live here. You stay here. You don't pay rent. You're not on the lease. This is my apartment and I want you out." I shoved the backpack at him. His towel almost fell off and he had to grab it. "Maria, please, I didn't think you'd see the videos. You didn't think I'd find out? You didn't think my family would see? Or you just didn't think at all?" I grabbed my phone and held it up. 5 minutes, Trey. Get dressed and get your stuff from the dumpster or I'm calling the police." He just stood there for a second, dripping and pathetic, before finally going to the bedroom. I could hear him scrambling around. probably trying to find clothes that I hadn't already thrown away. I went to the balcony and dropped the last few bags over the railing. The dumpster was pretty full now with all his stuff. Some of it had missed and landed on the ground around it. The gaming chair was tilted sideways, half in and half out. I pulled out my phone and took pictures of everything. Documentation of what I'd thrown out, in case he tried to claim I took more than I actually did. Trey came out of the bedroom 5 minutes later wearing jeans and a t-shirt, his backpack on. He looked at me like he wanted to say something, opened his mouth, then closed it again. Keys. I held out my hand. He dug in his pocket and handed over my apartment key. Didn't meet my eyes. And the spare. He hesitated, then pulled his keychain out and removed the spare key I'd given him 3 months ago. Handed it over without a word. Get your stuff from the dumpster or don't, I don't care, I said. But don't come back here, don't text me, don't make more videos about me. We're done. Trey stood there for another second, then finally left. I heard his footsteps going down the stairs. Heard the building door open and close. Went to my balcony and watched him walk over to the dumpster and start digging through trash bags, pulling out his clothes and electronics and piling them on the ground. I took my phone out and recorded him doing it. Let him have some content for once that wasn't mocking me. Posted it to my own TikTok with the caption, "When the content creator becomes the content," and went back inside. I sat down on my couch and finally let myself look at my phone. Andrea had been texting nonstop. My mom was calling again. There were already videos circulating on TikTok of Trey digging through the dumpster, different angles from neighbors who'd been watching. Someone had filmed the whole thing from their window and titled it, "Girl Throws Boyfriend Stuff in Trash," and it had 5K views already. The comments were split between people saying I was psycho and people saying he deserved it. I didn't care about either. I texted Andrea back, "Kicked him out, I'm fine. Coming to mom's tomorrow." My mom called immediately. I answered this time and she just said, "Good girl," and told me my room was ready whenever I needed it. But I stayed at my apartment that night. It was my place and I wasn't leaving it. I ordered takeout and ate dinner alone on my couch and watched my phone blow up with notifications while Trey's stuff sat in the dumpster outside waiting for tomorrow's trash pickup. Then my phone rang. "Is this Maria?" A woman's voice I didn't recognize. "Who's asking?" "My name is Susan. I think we need to talk about Trey." I sat up straighter on my couch. Susan. The name from the live stream. The one his friend had mentioned. The one who apparently didn't know something yet. "I'm listening," I said. And Susan started talking. And that's when I realized that Trey's TikTok videos were the least of my problems. Update. Okay, so that Susan phone call completely derailed my night. Quick update for everyone who's been messaging me asking what happened after I turned Trey into dumpster content. Susan turned out to be Trey's older sister. Like way older, she's 38 and has 3 kids and a husband and lives 2 hours away in Annapolis. I'd heard Trey mention her maybe twice in 2 years, always in passing, never anything significant. Apparently they weren't super close, but she'd been getting messages from her friends about her brother's viral TikToks. She called me that night after I kicked him out and her voice was tight and angry but not at me, which threw me off. She told me she'd been watching Trey's account blow up all evening and had tried calling him multiple times but he wasn't answering. So she found my number through their mom's phone, which, okay, mildly creepy, but whatever. Susan said she needed me to know that she'd been texting Trey for weeks, telling him to stop making those videos about me. She'd seen the earlier ones before they went viral, the ones where he was just doing little jokes about having a girlfriend who liked to cook and plan ahead. She told him it was disrespectful and immature and he needed to grow up. He'd apparently responded that she was being dramatic and everyone makes relationship content now and I'd never see them anyway. The way Susan was talking, she sounded exhausted and embarrassed. She kept apologizing for not doing more to stop him, like she should have driven down here and taken his phone away herself. She told me about how people at her job had been sending her the videos asking if that was her brother, and her husband was pissed because now people were talking about their family online. I was sitting there on my couch listening to this woman I'd never met unload about how her younger brother had humiliated both of us, and honestly it felt weird but also kind of validating, like at least someone in his family recognized how messed up this was. Susan kept saying she'd tried to teach him better, that their mom had raised them to respect women, that she didn't know where he got this attitude from. She mentioned that Trey had been staying with me rent-free, which I'd never told her. So how did she know? Apparently Trey had been complaining to their mom about how I was always on him about getting a better job or contributing more to bills, and their mom had been telling Susan about it. So his whole family knew he was living in my apartment not paying rent while he mocked me online for acting wifely. The audacity. Susan asked me what happened tonight and I told her. The dumpster, his stuff, kicking him out, all of it. She went quiet for a long minute, and then she actually laughed, like a real genuine laugh. She said good for you, he needed a reality check. And she was sorry I'd wasted 2 years on her immature brother. We talked for maybe 20 more minutes and she gave me her number in case Trey tried anything crazy. She said if he showed up at my place or harassed me to let her know and she'd handle it. Then she told me their mom was going to call me tomorrow to apologize and I should just prepare myself because Betty gets very emotional about family drama. After we hung up, I just sat there processing. Trey's own sister thought he was trash. His family had been watching him disrespect me this whole time. And now I had his sister as some kind of bizarre ally in this mess. Friday morning, I woke up to a bunch of notifications. My TikTok of Trey digging through the dumpster had gotten way more views overnight. Like 200,000. The comments were going crazy. People were making jokes, adding sound effects, sharing it around. Someone had gone through his old content and found videos from months ago where he was actually being nice about me. And now everyone was asking what changed. But that wasn't even the thing that caught my attention. My doorbell was ringing. I looked through the peephole and it was Trey, looking like he'd slept in his car, holding 2 garbage bags of his stuff that he'd salvaged from the dumpster. I didn't open the door, just talked through it, asked what he wanted. He said he needed to get the rest of his things and we needed to talk. I told him all his stuff was in the dumpster. He'd already taken what he wanted, and we had nothing to talk about. He started saying he was sorry, that he'd made a huge mistake, that the videos were stupid and he'd deleted them. I pulled up TikTok right there and checked. He had deleted them. The original roasting video, the live stream clips, everything from his account was gone. But it didn't matter because people had already screen recorded and reposted them everywhere. I told him through the door that deleting them didn't fix anything, that my family had already seen them, that everyone I knew had watched him call me desperate and crazy and clingy for being a good girlfriend. He kept saying he'd make it right, he'd post an apology, he'd tell everyone he was wrong. Then his voice changed, got harder. He said if I didn't let him get his stuff, he'd call the cops and report me for destruction of property, that I'd thrown away thousands of dollars of his electronics, and he had witnesses, that throwing his PlayStation and laptop in the dumpster was illegal, and he could press charges. I actually laughed, told him to call them then. I had pictures of everything I'd thrown out, and it was from my apartment that he didn't pay rent for, and he wasn't on the lease, and he was technically trespassing right now. He went quiet after that, but he didn't leave, just stood there outside my door. I could see him through the peephole pacing back and forth in the hallway. Finally, he tried a different approach. Started talking about how we'd been together 2 years, how we'd been happy, how one stupid mistake shouldn't end everything. I opened the door just enough to look at him. He looked rough. Same clothes from yesterday, hair messy, bags under his eyes. His garbage bags of salvage stuff were on the floor next to him. He looked at me with this hopeful expression like I was about to forgive everything. I asked him if he remembered what he said in the live stream, the part where he mocked me for probably crying and typing him paragraphs. He opened his mouth but nothing came out. I asked if he remembered his friend commenting about keeping me around for free meals and him agreeing. Still nothing. I asked if he understood that he'd taken my private conversations, my private moments, my face, and turned them into content for strangers to mock. He started saying he was so sorry. He'd been stupid. He got caught up in the views and likes and didn't think about how it would hurt me, that he loved me and wanted to fix this. I told him love doesn't humiliate people for entertainment. Love doesn't screenshot private conversations for likes. Love doesn't laugh with strangers about how your girlfriend is crazy for caring. And then I closed the door and locked it while he was still standing there crying in my hallway. He knocked for another 10 minutes. Then I heard him pick up his bags and leave. Around noon, my mom showed up at my door with Andrea. I let them in and we spent the afternoon eating and watching my phone notifications pile up. Andrea wanted me to post my own video telling my side. My mom wanted me to ignore all of it and focus on moving forward. I just wanted to understand what the hell had happened to turn my boyfriend of 2 years into someone who'd mock me online. That's when my mom said something that stuck with me. She said sometimes people get a taste of attention and it changes them. That Trey had probably gotten his first viral video and liked how it felt and kept chasing that high without caring who he hurt. Andrea said he was just showing his true colors and I should be glad I found out now. My phone rang while we were talking. Betty, Trey's mom. I'd met her exactly twice in 2 years, both times briefly. Andrea grabbed my phone and said don't answer, but I was curious what she'd say, so I picked up anyway. Betty started crying the second I answered. I just sat there listening to my ex-boyfriend's mother sob while my own mom and sister watched me with these concerned faces. Betty told me Susan had called her and told her everything. About the videos, about me kicking Trey out, about him living rent-free in my apartment. She said she'd driven to wherever Trey was crashing and went off on him for hours. That she'd never been so disappointed in him. That she wanted me to know she thought I was a lovely girl and didn't deserve any of this. I thanked her for calling but told her this was between me and Trey. She asked if there was any chance we could work it out. That he was so sorry. That he'd learned his lesson. I told her honestly I didn't know yet and that I needed space to think. She understood and made me promise to call if I needed anything. After I hung up, Andrea looked at me like I'd lost my mind. She asked why I said I didn't know if we could work it out when the answer was obviously hell no. And honestly, I didn't even know why I said that. Maybe because some stupid part of me still remembered the Trey from months ago. The one who actually seemed proud to be my boyfriend. Before he decided views and likes were worth more than basic respect. Saturday morning, my doorbell rang again. Looked through the peephole expecting Trey, but it was a delivery guy with flowers. Huge bouquet of roses. The card said, "I'm sorry, please let me explain. I love you," with Trey's name scrawled at the bottom. I took them inside, pulled out the card, and threw the whole bouquet in my kitchen trash. Then my phone started ringing. Trey again. I let it go to voicemail. He called back immediately. Voicemail again. third call, I finally answered, and he launched into this whole speech about how he'd been thinking and reflecting, and he understood now why what he did was wrong, and he wanted to take me to dinner to talk. I asked him what exactly he understood was wrong. He said posting the videos without my permission. That's what he thought the problem was. Not the content itself, not the public humiliation, just the lack of permission. Like if he'd asked first, it would have been totally fine to call me desperate and clingy to thousands of strangers. I told him we were done, that there was no dinner, no conversation, no working it out, that I wanted him to stop contacting me. He started arguing, saying I wasn't being fair, that I wasn't even giving him a chance to apologize properly, that everyone makes mistakes and I was being unreasonable. Then he said something that made me see red. He said I was overreacting and proving his videos right by being so dramatic about everything. That if I'd just calmed down and talked to him like an adult instead of throwing his stuff away, we could have worked through this like mature people. I hung up, blocked his number, blocked him on every social media platform I had. Andrea had been right from the start. He wasn't sorry for what he did. He was sorry he got caught, sorry there were consequences, sorry his little content plan backfired on him. Sunday, I was lying on my couch trying to zone out with some YouTube vid when my phone buzzed. The message said, "El Mao, your boyfriend has been coming to the PC gaming cafe for like 3 weeks now with some girl. They're here literally every night playing games together, and they're definitely together if you know what I mean. Thought you should know since everyone's talking about you two online." I just stared at my phone, read it again, and again. 3 weeks? 3 weeks. That would have been before he even made those videos. Before the live stream. Before any of this blew up. He'd been going to some gaming cafe with another girl while coming home to my apartment every night, eating the dinners I cooked, sleeping in my bed. I screenshotted the message and sent it to Andrea. She called me within 30 seconds, absolutely losing it, asking who sent it, if I knew the cafe they were talking about, if I was going to confront him. My mom grabbed the phone from her and told me not to do anything crazy, that this could be someone stirring up drama, that I needed to verify before I believed random texts. But something in my gut told me it was real. It explained so much. Why he'd suddenly started making those videos calling me clingy. Why he'd acted like we weren't serious when we'd been together 2 years. Why he'd pretended we weren't even at the I love you stage yet. He was setting up his exit strategy, making me look desperate and crazy online so when he left, everyone would understand why. Then I remembered something. Trey had this t-shirt he'd been wearing constantly the past month. Black shirt with some logo on it that I'd never paid much attention to. He'd told me he won it at some CS2 tournament. I zoomed in on my phone camera to read the logo. Game Hub Lounge. CS2 Champions 2024. So that was the place. I pulled up Google Maps and found it immediately. Game Hub Lounge in a strip mall near downtown. I showed Andrea and my mom when they came over Sunday evening. Andrea wanted to drive there immediately and catch them together. My mom kept saying we didn't know for sure he was cheating, that maybe he just played games there sometimes, that the person who texted could be making stuff up or exaggerating, but I knew better. 3 weeks of going somewhere every night wasn't just casual gaming, and that text said they were definitely together. Monday morning, I woke up to another text from the same unknown number. This time it included a photo. Trey and some girl I'd never seen walking out of Game Hub together, his arm around her shoulders. The timestamp said Saturday night, 11:47 p.m. The message said, "Told you. They were here again last night. She's here almost as much as the regular staff, lol." I sat there in my bed staring at that photo, feeling absolutely numb. This whole time while he was making videos about me being clingy and desperate, he was cheating. While he was live streaming to hundreds of people about how I acted too much like his wife, he was building a whole separate relationship with someone else. While he was letting me cook his meals and do his laundry and pay all the bills, he was spending his evenings with her. Andrea came over before I even called her. She'd been awake early and saw me post the photo to our family group chat. She walked in, took one look at my face, and said, "We're going to that gaming cafe tonight," and confronting him. My mom called and said absolutely not, that I should just block the number and move on, that he wasn't worth any more of my energy. But here's the thing. I'd already thrown his stuff in a dumpster. I'd already kicked him out. I'd already been publicly humiliated online. What did I have to lose by showing up at this place and seeing for myself? Tuesday evening, Andrea picked me up at 7. Game Hub Lounge was exactly where Google Maps said it would be, sandwiched between a bubble tea place and a vape shop. The windows were tinted, but you could see the glow of computer screens inside. We sat in Andrea's car in the parking lot for 10 minutes while I tried to decide if I was really doing this. Then I saw him walk in, Trey, through the front door like he owned the place. And 30 seconds later, a girl pulled up and practically skipped inside after him. Couldn't see her face clearly from the car, but I could see she was young, had long dark hair, was wearing jeans and a hoodie. Andrea looked at me and said, "Well?" I got out of the car. The inside of Game Hub was loud. Gaming computers lined the walls, people wearing headsets shouting into their mics, the sound of gunfire and explosions from various games. It smelled like energy drinks and Hot Pockets. I scanned the room and found them immediately. Back corner. Trey and the girl sitting side by side at adjacent computers, both wearing headsets, both completely focused on their screens. His hand was on her knee. I walked straight over to them. Andrea was right behind me, recording everything on her phone because she said we needed proof. I walked up to Trey's station and just stood there until he noticed me in his peripheral vision. He looked up, saw me, and his face went completely white. He ripped off his headset and stood up so fast his chair rolled backwards and crashed into the wall. The girl looked up confused, saw me, looked at Trey, and I watched her face register what was happening. I said, "So this is why you called me Clingy. You were busy every night with her." Trey opened his mouth but nothing came out. The girl stood up and took a step back. Other people in the cafe were starting to notice the situation. Someone turned down their game volume. I asked how long. Trey just kept shaking his head. The girl looked at him and said, "Trey, who is this?" "His girlfriend," I answered for her. "Well, ex-girlfriend now since he decided to humiliate me online while apparently dating you at the same time." She looked at Trey and said, "You told me you were single." "Oh, did he?" I said. "Did he also tell you he was living rent-free in my apartment? That I was cooking his meals and doing his laundry? That he called me desperate and clingy online while I was supporting his unemployed ass?" Trey finally found his voice and started saying, "Maria, stop, you're making a scene. This isn't what it looks like." The girl interrupted him and said, "You told me your ex was crazy, and you broke up months ago." Trey looked between us like a trapped animal. I pulled out my phone and showed her the photo from Saturday. Then I opened TikTok and showed her the videos people had reposted of him roasting me. The ones where you could see the date stamps from just last week. She watched, her face getting redder and redder. She looked at Trey and said, "Are you serious right now? You made videos calling her clingy while you were literally cheating on her with me?" "I wasn't cheating," Trey tried to say. "Maria and I were basically over. We were having problems." "We were having problems because you were cheating," I said. "Because you were spending every night here with her instead of coming home. Because you were building a whole relationship behind my back and then making me look like the crazy one online." The girl grabbed her jacket and her phone. She looked at me and said, "I'm so sorry, I had no idea. He told me he was single and I would never." Then she looked at Trey and said, "Lose my number, you absolute piece of garbage." And she walked out. Trey tried to follow her, but I blocked his path. Asked him when he was planning to tell me, if he was ever going to tell me, or if he was just going to keep making videos about how desperate I was until I finally broke up with him so he could play the victim. He said it wasn't like that. That he'd met her here a month ago, and they'd just been hanging out as friends. And it only recently turned into something more. That he hadn't cheated. That he hadn't done anything wrong. That I was blowing this out of proportion like I always did. Like I always did. Andrea stepped forward and told him to shut up before she made him shut up. The cafe owner or manager or whoever came over and asked if there was a problem. I told him no problem, we were just leaving. Looked at Trey one more time and said I hope she was worth it. Walked out with Andrea right behind me. We got in her car and I just sat there. Andrea was already posting the video she'd recorded to her Instagram story. Within minutes people were resharing it, commenting on it, finding Trey in the video and tagging him. My phone started buzzing. Texts from Susan, from Betty, from my mom, from people I barely knew who'd seen Andrea's video. Everyone asking if I was okay. If that was real, if Trey had really been cheating. And then a text from Trey. Multiple texts actually, saying I'd ruined everything. That the girl wouldn't talk to him now. That I'd embarrassed him in public again. That I was psycho and he was glad we were over. I opened TikTok and hit record. My hair was a mess, my eyes were red. Andrea was visible in the driver's seat next to me looking concerned. And I just went off. Told everyone exactly what happened. How he'd been cheating for weeks while living in my apartment rent-free. How he made those videos calling me clingy to cover up his own guilt. How he was out here playing house with some other girl every single night while I cooked his dinners and packed his lunches like an idiot. How he had the nerve to act like I was the problem when he was the one lying and cheating and using me. I said if anyone else got a tip about their partner doing shady stuff, believe it. Don't sit around making excuses for them like I did. Don't give them the benefit of the doubt. And definitely don't let them gaslight you into thinking you're the crazy one when they're out here playing games in every sense of the word. That video hit 100,000 views in 16 hours. Quick final update. I was at the grocery store near my apartment when I literally ran into Trey in the frozen food aisle, carrying a basket with like ramen and energy drinks. We just stood there staring at each other for a second. Then he started talking. Said we needed to have an actual conversation without Andrea recording or people watching. That he wanted to explain everything. That the girl from Game Hub meant nothing and he'd made a huge mistake. I asked him which mistake. Making the videos, cheating, or getting caught. He said all of it, that he was sorry, that he'd been an idiot. That he never meant for any of this to happen. I asked him what he thought would happen. Did he think I'd never see the videos? Did he think I'd just accept him cheating? Did he think there would be no consequences? He said he wasn't thinking clearly, that he got caught up in the attention, that the girl was just someone to game with and it turned into more but it wasn't serious. Then he said something that made me want to throw frozen peas at his head. He said if I'd just been less intense about the relationship stuff, maybe he wouldn't have felt the need to look elsewhere. That I was always talking about our future and acting like we were married when he just wanted things to be casual. I stood there in the frozen food aisle of a grocery store and told him he had some absolute nerve. That for 2 years he'd been perfectly happy letting me take care of him, cook for him, pay his rent, support his gaming hobby. That he never once said he wanted things casual. That he told me he loved me every single day. That he talked about moving in together officially, about getting engaged eventually, about all these future plans. And now he was rewriting history to make it seem like I was the one pushing for too much. He tried to argue, but I cut him off. Told him he was a liar and a coward who couldn't even own his own choices. That he made those videos and cheated because he wanted to, not because I forced him. That he was looking for an exit and decided to blow everything up in the most public, humiliating way possible, instead of just being honest. People were definitely staring at us now. An older woman with a cart had stopped nearby pretending to look at ice cream but obviously listening. Trey noticed and lowered his voice, said we should take this outside. I said no. We were done talking, done explaining, done with all of it. Told him to lose my number, stop texting from random phones, and leave me alone. That if I saw him near my apartment or my work, I'd call the cops. That night, Susan called and said Trey had been blowing up her phone trying to get her to talk to me on his behalf. She told him absolutely not, that he made his bed and now he could lie in it. She said Betty had officially kicked him out and he was couch surfing with friends. I spent 2 years being a good girlfriend to someone who decided I was worth less than TikTok views and a side piece at a gaming cafe. I cooked his meals, paid his bills, supported his hobbies, and got called desperate and clingy for it. Then got cheated on while he played victim online. Goodbye, loser. I see a lot of you in the comments asking where my videos went from TikTok. Yeah, I deleted them. All of them. I know people already saved copies and reposted them and whatever. I can't control that. But at least it's not coming directly from my account anymore. I just want to live my life in peace now. I don't want to be known as the girl who threw her boyfriend's PlayStation in the dumpster. I don't want random people approaching me in public. I don't need this kind of attention.